Hello, everybody. My name is Eric McLeod.
And I'm Chris Holden.
And you are listening to LowBlowRadio podcast. It is Wednesday, September 30th. We just watched AEW Dynamite, and we're going to do one of our blow-by-blows here of the show here. Chris, what did you make of it overall before we jump into things?
I liked the first hour better than the second hour. By the end of the night, it wasn't a bad show. It wasn't the greatest effort.
Yep. No, I think, they're certainly building to something, and there was, a lot of sort of implications for what's to come in the weeks to unfold and that kind of thing. So we'll have to sort of wait and see. But I would agree that the early half of the show was much better than the later half. But let's hop right into the blow by blow. What did we kick off with here tonight?
Kicking off with Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks, which was a good match. I really liked this. Abstract, first of all, from the fact it wasn't one of the hot tag opening matches to start the show, which we've become so used to. I kept waiting for their tag team partners to come out early on.
Right, yeah.
The first thing that kind of jumped out to me, though, was Taz on commentary instead of at ringside. So right away, I'm like, oh, I guess Tony Schiavone was a little bit less careful around the COVID last week. But then they're explaining we're going to see Tony in a backstage segment with FTR. He's just hunting down an interview. So,
yes, he was busy hunting down the FTR, and yes, I guess you could maybe place the COVID on the people that were maybe missing throughout the night. It's a bit more of a where's whoever kind of game we could play with who potentially may be sick and out with other things. But yeah, this match was a lot of fun. I think it was nice to finally see some more singles competition from this feud rather than them kind of stuck in tag stuff. This whole thing's kind of been going on since obviously Cage's debut at Double or Nothing, and then feuding with Darby, and then the uniting with Team Taz and everything else. So some moving on there, as well as the feuds kind of continuing as well. But a solid match between these two to kick off the show.
I like the way that they sold Darby Allin's abilities past being just a stuntman in this match. I thought it was a good bout. It was quick, it was smooth. Ricky Starks looks great. He sells and he works like $1 million. Like, I think he's a really good worker, and together they've got a lot of good chemistry. So I like the grouping here. It's not Willie Hobbs is kind of an out of left field entrant into it in the last few weeks. Again, mostly I don't watch Dark, so this is my introduction to him in this kind of semi-main event spotlight way. So not a bad way to bring a guy in. They've done a better job at debuting this no-name to me than they did with Butcher and the Blade initially, to me.
Well, true, yeah. I mean, sometimes that's all you need, a nice big showing in the Battle Royal for Will Hobbs to get some name recognition outside of his performances on Dark. And then, kind of getting thrown into this feud here is protecting Moxley last week or a few weeks ago, whenever that was. And then now here kind of igniting this feud here with Cage. So, but I would agree. I really enjoyed Ricky Starks selling throughout this match, the selling of the back throughout the whole thing, how it would impact the match and that kind of stuff was very interesting in telling of the whole kind of story of it and that kind of deal. Selling back and forth, I think they're really good partners in the ring here, telling a good story. And like I was saying, the back sort of leading into the finish there as Darby got the big win with the coffin drop that he ended up landing on Darby, or Darby landed on Ricky to get the finish, and he landed on his back, though, to inflict a little bit more damage there.
Yeah, accentuate the story they've been telling, as you said, of the injured back versus the injured leg that Darby was apparently suffering through the bout. The simple stuff they were doing on the outside. They were on the outside, there was quite a bit of it, and it was all real basic stuff. It wasn't a lot of the crazy flips and flops and flying. It was very simple and very good heel work from Ricky, and then quick comebacks from Darby and back into the ring.
Yeah,
it worked really well, and it shows that you don't always have to do, or I thought it showed, you don't always have to do the 17 flips in one rotation and stuff and land on 16 guys to get something that's effective over. You can get over on the basic stuff if you sell it right and you make it look effective while you're doing that. And that I thought that was a simple but effective match. So I really liked it as an opener.
No, for sure. I think a real good way to kick things off, especially with I like when they kind of have the feud that sort of ends the night last week on Dark being the thing that sort of kicks things off the next week. It adds
Yeah.
to the fluidity and the consistent nature of watching the consistent shows and that kind of stuff. So yeah, a great way to kick things off here on Dynamite. So moving on, we had a little tease before the commercial break as the lights went out and Cody Rhodes' music plays. We get a little bit of his new entrance, and instead of the opening tunnel, it's like a gated entrance as he looks even more like a creepy vampire walking through the smoke, headed to the ring here to let us know what he thinks of the challenge laid out by Mr. Brody Lee last week.
Yeah, well, and when 323 calls, what are you gonna do? 323 is our area code, so I popped for that.
I totally had that written down too. I was like, because when you watch movies, like they don't want to give away real numbers. It's always 555, right? It's the fake number of Hollywood. So we're in like small town Ontario. We don't know what the real like area code for Hollywood is, but it's cool to find out that it's 323, just like our main numbers are here in Mount Forest, Ontario. Not to give that away, but hey, it's much of a different thing here. But
they're
yeah,
not my number. My number is 555-4342.
Oh, totally.
You're
Mine
probably
too.
a 323 number. Try any random 4 digits, see if you get Eric on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go for it. We'll see what happens. Whatever.
But the only area code I knew in the States aside from that was 619. Thanks, wrestling. It's such an education for me.
Totally, that's fair. That's fair.
So they kick it off with the big ad for the big show, which I at first I was a little bit groany about, but then I'm like, oh, you know what? The whole thing was cross promotion, so that's fair enough, right? That's what they're supposed. That's what they did it for. So they got their cross promotional bit on this show.
Yeah.
So I ended up making myself shut up because I'm just a whiny bitch about something. And I like the executive vice president in me says no as he walks away. I thought that was leading to, but the Cody in me says yes, and then he kind of flipped that on me as well, which was great. Like,
yeah, I can say not a bad sort of subtle take on the new Cody demeanor or whatever. I'm sure we'll get more of it as certainly as the match comes out and that kind of thing, and as the brawl certainly broke out here. Yeah, it was certainly he was trying to be more reserved, and then certainly not wanting to hold back when he was ready to bring up Mr. Brody's name.
The only one part of the brawl bit that I did not like was Brandy getting involved. Her senton onto the Dark Order, where it was like such an obvious, we've caught her. Did we all catch her, boys? Is she good? Okay, now fall down. There was like a 4-second gap in there. It was brutal. But that out of it was my only complaint, because then when the other girls jumped in, that was some tough, solid looking stuff going on out there.
Yeah.
And the interaction with Brody and Cody as well, I really enjoyed that. I thought that put both guys over at a good spot, made it look and feel like it's a very important rematch. Cody had already done a good job of that, I think, with the promo. But Brody's insane look in his face. I just hope he got to scream the F word a little bit more while he's doing these like he does on Being the Elite. It would be a little bit more even, but it's great. I love it.
Yeah, no, fantastic to see. What do you make of this match being just next week? And we had sort of predicted maybe they were going to hold off till the anniversary show or something like that. Instead, they're sort of, keeping the ball rolling, so to speak here.
I don't, without being a spoiler to the end of this show or the episode, I think it's got something to do with main events and stuff.
Fair enough, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's just maybe we know we've got this match. We know we can do it right now because they're both not sick right now.
Right.
We put it off 16 days. Maybe one of them can't make it. Then what the fuck do we main event with anymore? Because as we saw through the night, the card gets a little bit more shallow as some of the roster aren't there.
Yeah.
And so we make them do the best with what we got. What do you think happened? Like, is there speculation different?
Yeah, I don't know. It was sort of thrown at me out of nowhere because I was very much predicting that it seemed like the build was to have this just take place like a lot of next week. Not even think the whole episode's going to be about Jericho, but it seems like that's going to be more of the focus to then have this really big match also be taking place. I get it'll be the two big kind of separate things to kind of let other things have their sort of break if that was sort of need be, if they were ready to do more of the main event stuff, and they're waiting for Lance to be better and that kind of stuff to move those things forward, and they don't want to, just have Moxley cutting promos against nobody, or maybe that's why it's moved into this Eddie Kingston storyline. Yeah, I'm a little unsure. I don't know if maybe they just have different plans for this feud, if it's going to be a trilogy or something like that, or if it, again, just different plans for Brody and or Cody moving into the anniversary show. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but still really excited for this matchup, and it could certainly, with the stipulations and everything else, could certainly lead to like a no contest or a DQ type thing that could lead to a rubber match eventually.
I think you'd have to do something like that, but I don't think Cody can come out with the belt and then get to a third. That would have made sense to start it the other way around, maybe with a close loss for Brody can lead to a second match he wins, right? So I don't know, but I could see you being right on the Cody wins this in a non-title taking format, though in a dog collar match I'm not sure that's possible, because again, that'll depend on what AEW come with their own rules for it. If they come with a way to have a DQ or an unclean finish where a title doesn't change, maybe but otherwise I would see Brody going over. I still think we end up with more matches between the two of them, because
I think a
good spot,
something like Dark Order interference or something like that, or like the final turn from Colt or something like that to save Mr. Brody or something like that eventually leads to the DQ win for Cody, but doesn't gain him the title, and then they lead to a cage match or something like that to keep the Dark Order out of there, whatever. But I'd like to see more out of these two. I think I'm already considering the first match was so fast too. I think this one will be a really good next element to the feud, but I think there's certainly some more fuel in that fire for a trilogy if they end up getting there. So next thing, we had Tony finally found the FTR, as we had heard in the back. He's interviewing them, letting everybody know about their 20 Minutes with Greatness match that they're going to be having with the SCU later on. And they are kind of putting SCU over here a little bit more than their other competition in AEW.
And then Tony fucked up.
Yes, right? I guess
so. He brought up the Bucks. I'm pretty sure he was explicitly told a couple of times last week not to ask questions about FTR and the Bucks by Matt Jackson. So Matt invited him to a super kick party.
Yes.
Private invite, just Tony Schiavone.
Well, it was Matt with another leg, and he kept talking to a person off camera, which makes me feel that maybe Nick Jackson is one of those unfortunately not cleared people, because he was not on being the elite last week. And there's other elements of him not being around. He wasn't in the segment with Tony last week as well. So maybe Nick is also one of those unfortunate competitors. But what do you kind of make of this, them going after commentators and referees and that kind of stuff, and then FTR sort of taunting them afterwards about that sort of comeuppance kind of thing?
It seems like an odd addition to the keep them apart storyline, because we know we want to keep apart and keep the suspense building. The longer we can keep FTR and the Bucks out of the ring against each other in that tag team proper one-on-one match for the titles, the more anticipation we're going to build, and the more we're going to love it when we finally see it. But we know that anyway, and we don't I don't know. I'm a little confused by some of it if it's not leading to just an out-and-out heel turn for the Bucks, because seems to be what the point is. It's to do it, knock out Tony Schiavone, and then just, what's the problem? We interrupt something? We're out here again. Not even acknowledge it. They would just throw more money at TK. And it just seems really, it seems really weird that without any further explanation. But I'm not too concerned that we're not going to get that full explanation. That's probably the difference maker between this kind of teasy stuff here in AEW, is I'm reasonably assured we are going to get satisfactory payoff.
Especially from the Bucks. It's basically a foregone conclusion that you would imagine they have an idea of where their story is going. They tend to have a little bit more freedom when it comes to that kind of stuff, as shown already in the year told so far. So I tend to think that it's maybe their best way of getting over as heels to actually make people hate them. Like, as I mean, I don't like seeing them attack refs and like be like chicken shits like that and attacking interviewers and whatever. I'd rather see them be like attacking the FTR and getting their comeuppance to being badasses like they were in, you know, the old New Japan Ring of Honor days, and have that confidence and stuff like that. And now they, you know, they seem like more like dicks in a different way, which is smart, because it's like if they're going to be heels, they might as well be heels that you want to boo, right? There should be a reason for it, and if they can be creative in that sense, I'm curious to see where it goes.
And it is creative, but I mean, I hate to, I don't want to sound too cornet, but it muddies the water somewhat when I understand the FTR to be the heel team. They are my bad guys. So the heroes are going to be the Bucks in this top two feud. Except,
well, I mean, eventually,
this way it's
maybe,
coming across like the Bucks are healing it up somewhat, but FTR aren't being any more facey, unless they're talking to the Bucks when they're saying like, "Oh, why don't you pick on more big guys? They can pick on us." But it's not babyface to the degree of literally standing in front, taking the kick for him, trying to block it, fighting him in defense of Shivani. And the Bucks weren't heely to the point of, you know, they're getting in the face of FTR. Like, I want those titles. That's what we're here for, and the blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's this very muddied watered. But again, I feeling like we're getting somewhere with it. I'm not disappointed by it. I'm more invested and I'm more intrigued than I am bored or, come on, guys, give me something. So, for now, we'll see how I feel in 3 weeks. Right?
No, I feel like if they're turning and we already have FTR as a heel team, it's just the idea that we're just not going to get that match anytime soon. I don't think we're going to get Young Bucks during the versus the FTR for probably another year. I mean, they're going to hold off as long as they can to have that match. Like, why try to have it anytime soon right now? Both those teams can be totally different right now in two different spots, and then eventually get back to that direction, especially since, you know, their stories were told separately before FTR came in, and then, you know, now have been sort of thrown in there. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens next with all of that. And, yeah, speaking of FTR and SCU, and we didn't really talk about SCU too much, but, yeah, they kind of put over that they were excited to be taking on Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian, the original tag team champions, to sort of define themselves now as the new tag team here in AEW.
Hang on, though. We did miss one thing.
Oh.
When FTR mentioned about how if Dave Meltzer were the one handing out title shots, sure, the Bucks would have had one by now. How hard did Dave Meltzer come when they said that on air on Dynamite, do you think?
I doubt it was that much for him, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
I think that'll be a hot topic for the next couple of days. I haven't looked at Twitter to see what he put on there, but I'm sure it didn't go unnoticed. Yeah, I was a little disappointed that it was going to be Scorpio and Frankie. I was really hoping for Chris Daniels and Frankie. Having said that, no disappointment whatsoever. So.
No, I understand it story-wise, like why you would want to take on the original tag team champions in AEW, and that's Scorpio and Frankie. Not to say that I don't enjoy the tag team of Christopher Daniels and Kazarian as well. It's a great other, like the original SCU when they were the Addiction and other sort of incarnations in other places. Mm-hmm. But as far as AEW story goes and what's going on right now with the belts and that kind of stuff, the stories they usually tell, this seemed to make the most sense.
And it's specifically what FTR said. We want to cement the legacy by beating the first tag team champions.
Yeah.
Now, of course, they didn't have to beat them because it was a 20-minute brush with great. They just have to not lose in 20 minutes to claim a victory. We didn't go that way anyway.
No, it certainly didn't. It got pretty close, and it certainly was a different type of match from FTR, which I kind of liked. I liked that it was they were sort of going for their typical stuff at first, and you could tell Scorpio and Kazarian are like, hey, we've been here before, guys. You're not going to be able to catch us with that kind of stuff. They were able to outsmart the ref, I guess, a little bit more than anybody else. He was probably the one person I was most upset with in this whole situation, but yeah, I kind of like the different tactics from FTR, and then in doing so from the response from SCU with that, and then FTR having to respond to that by then having to be like, okay, it seems like Scorpio's the one that is our biggest problem. Let's try and take him out of the action. Where in your typical SCU matches, it seems like Kazarian's more your starter, ends up taking a little bit more of the heat type or your early type stuff to then get the comeback, and then the heater in with Scorpio. So it was cool to see the kind of reverse here. What did you make of this matchup?
No, I liked it. I thought it was the heel stuff from FTR that I really enjoyed. Getting Chris Daniels tossed with the dive, pretending that he grabbed his feet, throwing himself to the mat, and then pointing and holding his nose and stuff. I thought that was really good, an original kind of thing, and don't see that too often. So I enjoyed that. And I love the way that they do the slide play across the ring to cut off the ring on a tag when one opponent's look for the hot tag. So I thought that was great. Frankie Kazarian is 43 years old. I'm 5 months older than Frankie Kazarian, right? Do you know how bad that makes me feel? That if I tried to move half as quickly as he does for a quarter of the length of time, I would have 6 consecutive fucking heart attacks. Like, how the fuck does someone of that age have that cardio and agility and everything still? Yeah, I'm not in good shape, but it's not terrible. That's phenomenal to see someone be able to like that mobile and that kind of stuff. He's doing stuff that guys 20 years younger than him don't do.
Yeah,
so,
I'm gonna say I'm familiar enough with him over the last couple of years, and I don't know enough to know if he's like been like injury free and that kind of stuff. I assume kind of if he's able to move so fluid this later in life. I never heard of him being out for long periods of time like Scorpio with more devastating injuries and that kind of thing. So yeah, to have that kind of consistent ring work just all the time, consistency in the ring really kind of shows in a match like this, working with FTR, and you got a real kind of different back and forth here.
I like the co-cutter spot and the power bomb into the dragon suplex on Frankie. That was awesome as well. Some of the timing on their double team stuff for FTR is coming together really nicely. Of course, it helps when you're working with a team like SCU. So the more they're with these top level guys versus your greener teams, and that's no knock on the Jungle Express, the Lucha Express. Sorry, JR moment. No knock on the Lucha.
No, Jurassic Express. You were right the first time.
I got halfway there the first time. I said Jungle. I don't know.
Jungle Express.
3 times. I'll get there.
Almost
eventually.
there. Almost.
Yeah. Not a knock on them, but they're just inexperienced. So you go against one of these teams that have that much more experience, that much more ring savvy. Calling a match is easier. Everything's easier, and everything looks better as well. And it just did. Everything flowed so much better. It was a really, really good bout. Mm-hmm. The crisscrossing of the storyline still in this hour, having Hangman on commentary again.
I was going to say that was the other thing that we should definitely mention here was the sort of opposite thing that we've been getting from the Hangman singles matches here was Hangman this time during the commentary booth letting them know that he was here very much wanting to be a prospect of the tag division, see what was going on, and he was still kind of holding out hope that maybe Kenny Omega would want to team up with him. The commentators questioned him about that flat out, and he says, hey, Kenny had a singles match, the same thing we've all kind of been questioning over the last few weeks. He's like, I haven't seen him out there, and as a friend, I'd be a bad friend if I didn't at least try. So you're at least seeing his perspective here as a bit of a drunk sitting there doing his best to enjoy this match as he joined the commentary booth.
Yeah, it was fun having that different perspective of it versus Kenny out again to reiterate that story. We'll get Hangman's official side of it, where I think we're still invested in this. And until he actually says it, well, he has said it, Hangman. No, until he actually does it, then don't believe, right? So interested. Yeah. I like the finish, the homage to Bobby the Brain Heenan and ravishing Rick Rude's SummerSlam spot from 1988, I believe.
With holding the feet.
The Ultimate Warrior, when he grabbed his legs from the outside and holds him down for Rick Rude to get the finish.
Yeah.
Crossbodies are exactly the same thing, except with Dax doing the extra leverage around Tully's waist.
So, I think this certainly just adds to my what the fuck was this ref watching this whole time? Says he was so animate that Christopher Daniels interfered without seeing it, but just seeing the look on very specific heels' faces. They could have played a replay. They've had other refs run out and tell people stuff before. They have precedent for certain things. And then he interferes himself, kicking his feet onto their Tully's hands as he's helping out at one point. So now all of a sudden he's interfering in the match, and then he decides to pull a blind eye to this here at the end. So I think the one person who decides to, who I think deserves the most repercussions here, is the ref in this match. But I still had a great time watching it.
Find him, TK. Find that referee. They announced an 8-man tournament next, with the finals will take place at Full Gear, and the winner will get a world title shot against ostensibly Jon Moxley or Lance Archer. So I didn't hear the first name, but then they said Rey Fenix and Kenny Omega were the next two. Did you catch who the first one was?
Jungle Boy.
Oh, Jungle Boy, right on. So Jungle Boy, Rey Fenix, Kenny Omega. At the announcement of Kenny's name being in the tournament, you visibly saw the moment Hangman's heart was ripped from his chest, thrown to the ground. You actually see in pinpoint the moment his little heart breaks.
Yes.
And he needs some more drinks. So he was on his way backstage with an empty glass.
Mm-hmm. I hope we get a little backstage like footage of him, or like a BTE thing or something, where he's actually stormed off to announce himself try to get himself in the tournament, talk to Tony Khan or something like that. That's maybe where he stormed off to.
It's where it's headed, I think. As soon as they say Kenny and that moment happens, like, okay, scratch what I said before about Kenny jumping in on Hangman. We're going to a Hangman versus Kenny final. I think. Yeah,
I'm going to say I was a little caught off with the timing. I thought maybe they had said the winner was going to Full Gear to take on Jon Moxley or Archer, or was it that the finals were going to be at the tournament?
The finals for this tournament will be at Full Gear.
Because that kind of messes up my predictions too, because at first I had heard maybe it was the winner was going to Full Gear to take on Moxley, which is then I had thought, well, then we're going to get a triple threat match. We're going to get the two of them as the winners of the tournament. They're not going to finish the tournament. We're gonna have the two of them, and then we'll get a triple threat for the title. But what were you about to say?
I might be quoting JR, so God knows the finals might actually be next Wednesday.
I was ready to strangle him by the end of this night. Oh my God, I want to bury him, man. I'm so sorry. I love you, JR. Like I never want to say anything about an old person, but
I know, he's a legend.
I know, and it's like, if it's anything, if you can't do 2 hours, then bring you out for the main event, bring you out for the title match, bring you out for the tag team title match, bring you out for the really, really big stuff, like, so that it's awesome. You have other commentators. He clearly gets so tired by the end of these things that he just gives up.
And
it just gets so. It doesn't do any good for him, and it doesn't do any good for the commentary team or AEW. So I just feel it's unfortunate all around, because he wants to do his best, and he can do his best. And if he does his best, it's in very small little segments. But when you put him on a whole goddamn show, fuck, does he ever get so goddamn tiresome by the end of it? And it's just like...
Excalibur was audibly frustrated, and I think done with it by the end of the show tonight. You could hear it in his voice. He had enough.
Because he puts a goddamn effort in to give you a good product. And you can just tell that JR has obviously put in the years, and he has all this experience. But if you're trying that with a new product, you should have to learn what's going on and all this kind of stuff. We'll get to this kind of stuff later on. But again,
they could have just been real simple with flipping JR and Tony.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess if they didn't want JR to take a super kick, or they're saving JR taking a super kick or whatever, right?
But, we know he's going to eat one sooner or later. He's supposed to be the lead babyface guy at that desk, except gets a little less babyface every week with all the sexual innuendo constantly being
true. I mean, maybe they'll take it out on Excalibur instead. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But moving on with the night, what was our next matchup?
We move into Chris Jericho takes on Isaiah Cassidy in a replay of the Orange story versus Jericho from the last several weeks, I think. I like the match, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think Isaiah is an excellent salesperson. His offense needs a lot of work. His offensive stuff is sloppy. He's mistiming things. But I like the rough raw potential I see in the kid. I think I see what they see in him.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got charisma, he's got showmanship, he's got a good look, and he's definitely athletic enough.
Yeah.
And the selling stuff and the bumping's brilliant. But the problem you fall into, the trap you fall into, you bump like that all the time, and you're that good at bumping all the time, it will do no favors for your fucking win-loss record. Ask Dolph Ziggler. Right? And that's what I thought about it.
Yeah, very true. I mean, we've got plenty of time to get there. It's only been a year in AEW for these guys. So, I mean, I'm not worried about any of that kind of stuff for Isaiah. In that sense, I think this is a great opportunity for him to get a big match with Chris Jericho. But, yeah, I certainly agree that maybe he certainly wasn't at the level of some of the other Jericho singles matches he's had with the younger type guys. I mean, if you had to put him in there like the same age category, Jungle Boy is far more impressive for their age, for his age compared to Isaiah, but in a different sense. Isaiah has obviously just done tag wrestling far more than he's done singles wrestling. I don't know what his indie career is like in singles. They said he's never competed in AEW in singles, and that certainly showed. And maybe that was the story of the match itself as well, that eventually he just sort of ran out of cardio, or was like those moments where he would try to tag out and rest to come back in and do his sort of more flashy high fly stuff. Just wasn't able to get the opportunities here. But yeah, I still think it was a decent matchup between Jericho and Isaiah. Another one that I thought was kind of weird, with one of the best refs, we get Aubrey out there. And was this a no DQ match, but maybe wasn't a no DQ match? This was a little confusing as well.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
No. So, and again, that comes down to a bigger picture. Maybe it's just because I've been watching the Ring of Honor tournament and I fucking love the rules. And then when you don't see rules, you're just like, fuck off. Just tell me if it's a no DQ match or not. That's real simple. If you want to have the spot where Luther attacks Jericho, fine, then tell us it's a no DQ match. And you can have the spot and nothing happens. But it happened on camera. Aubrey had no reason not to be watching. Luther physically attacked Jericho. It should have been a no DQ. We're in a place where there's, records and all this kind of legitimacy, and they don't do bullshit finishes and that kind of stuff. So to not have, a specificity of things like this, it just seemed weird. And maybe it was on Luther. Maybe he wasn't supposed to hit him. Maybe the hit was supposed to come after. But this was pre-taped. It was last week. They taped this last week, so it could have been changed.
Especially in a week when WWE did that thing with Retribution on Raw, where Lashley, or with the Hurt Business thing, where the man on the ringside hit the man in the ring, and that caused the DQ for the maybe the second time ever in wrestling. The illegal man in a tag team match got his tag team partner disqualified for joining in. That never happens. But yeah, so to have this same kind of thing, exactly. It's a strange thing to see that. Now, having said that, we were wondering the other week where this leads to for Jericho and for Hager and their tag team thing. That's obviously, this was the setup for, we knew right away what next week's match was going to be, and sure enough, we'll see the Chaos, what they call them, the Chaos somethings?
Chaos Project.
Chaos Project, sorry.
Yes.
I was going to say the Chaos Avengers. I knew that wasn't right, and I didn't want to flip through the pages to find it.
A pretty decent match between Isaiah Cassidy and Chris Jericho, ending with a top rope Judas effect from Jericho, laying out Cassidy there, and then being attacked by Luther and Serpentico on the outside, the Chaos Project, and as announced the next week on the Chris Jericho 30 years in wrestling anniversary show and kind of thing, we're going to see him and Hager taking on the Chaos Project. So I'm sure that'll be quite a squash match. They've been doing okay. They've been winning. They've been giving them wins on Dark, so it's good to at least have, when they show up here on Dynamite, the record won't just be 0-0. I like when they at least do that for a team that, like you said when you were mentioning Will Hobbs earlier, that'll at least be nice when they have a record from Dark, so that when they show up on Dynamite, it's like, well, okay, they've competed here. Some wins, some losses, but they're not completely fresh to the company, kind of thing. So
I thought they did a good job. Like, Luther looked more dangerous than Isaiah tonight.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And he's obviously far more seasoned, and him and Jericho have talked and clearly have a past outside of AEW and in wrestling and that kind of stuff. So I was always curious to eventually see that it's always weird when you have heels on heels, though, because they've definitely been a heel team over there. But hey, it's AEW. We'll kind of let some of that stuff go here. They don't really have a lot of defined stuff, so I'm okay with that.
I don't mind seeing heels fighting heels, as long as there's still some justification why I hate this guy.
Totally, and it's Jericho, so I'm sure he's slightly elevated above that in a sense. So we'll have to see what happens with that match next week. We had a little video package of Kip Sabian and Miro as they are planning Kip's bachelor party, and he's kind of letting him know the kind of stuff that he wants. And there was a little bit of subtlety in this promo package as well. Did you notice any of that?
What bits do you mean? The video game stuff, got that, they kept beating him in video games. I thought it was just promoting Miro's Twitch thing.
Right. I'd have to go back and watch it, but it just seemed like every little thing that they did, Miro was just that much better at it than Kip. Like they were doing all the stuff, and I can't remember what the first thing was, but then they threw the axes, and he was better throwing the axes. They were playing the video games. He beat him at the video games. Again, the subtle stuff. Well, I'm the best man, right? Like you were saying, he's going to be better than Kip. So I like the subtleness of that, and how it just seems so over Miro's head. Like he just knows he's good, and eventually it seems like it'll start digging at Kip. So
right on.
And again,
that's good eye, because that went right over my head as well.
And maybe I threw it in there, but I felt that's what I noticed. Right. Yeah.
There was talk in the beginning of this gimmick. I think Jericho on his podcast said it was look for a very Mr. Perfect-esque gimmick.
Right.
So that is exactly Mr. Perfect, though, it was as subtle as a brick in the face. So yeah, thank you.
No problem.
My biggest thing with it was I didn't know the guy he was talking to.
Billy Mitchell?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Oh, so you've never seen King of Kong documentary? I'd say it was like Billy's other biggest thing.
Oh,
so
is he the Nintendo guy?
So he was a kid. Kong? He was a kid who won like the Donkey Kong stuff as like a teenager or whatever.
Oh, he's that guy. Okay.
He's that guy, and then he was the one who got accused of cheating and all that kind of stuff.
Now I know who he is.
Yeah,
okay.
that all of that sort of thing.
I didn't recognize his face. I didn't know him by that. When you said the gun like that, suddenly hit some things off. So okay.
Yeah, King of Kong documentary at Billy Mitchell here. So
that whole promo was way too subtle for me. I'm glad I like Big Tough Miro. I still enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Hey, I was gonna say subtlety sometimes is my favorite, so I enjoyed picking up on those little things here. Mainly because I'm just curious where they're going with the Miro story. I like that it's a little slower build. Well, obviously it seems that way, but it doesn't seem like it's outright. He's not just like following her around, or the commentary's not saying, "Well, look at the eyes Miro's got for Penelope." Like,
no, it's gonna be her. It's going to be her saying, like, why am I marrying you again when he's obviously the best man? I'm going to go over here. That's where it's going.
Yeah, so no, I think, again, it's a build that we're getting here that's just sort of different and a different side of Miro outside of the Rusev character. So I think that's very good to see. So after that, we got the FTR running into Best Friends, giving them a hard time about them, not necessarily being on the top guy level and that kind of stuff. But hey, these guys are chicken shits as much as anything else, as they flinch as they get taunted by the Best Friends, because these guys are just a couple of wieners.
Weenies.
Weenies.
Yeah. We end the levels conversation. We're on levels. We're just talking about levels, boys. That's all. Our clown stuff, monkeys, spot monkeys, top guys. Spot monkeys, top guys. That's going to be a great match when they get to that, right?
For sure.
It's not going to be the classic that the Bucks FTR is anticipated to be, but it's going to be a really good wrestling match. So.
Yeah. No, I think maybe that'll be the Full Gear build potentially, or something like that for Best
Looking
Friends.
Like it.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. But yes, this was more of a build to Orange Cassidy's matches. He called them wieners and started his walk out to the ring, as we were told he was going to take on 10 from the Dark Order, who is Preston Vance, finally returning to action after his torn pectoral injury or something like that he had for quite a bit there.
Those are painful, I've heard.
Yes, I would imagine so. So yeah, nice to see him back. He was sort of an early Dark enhancement guy before he was recruited in the Dark Order, and then the story was he was put out by John Moxley with the arm injury and stuff like that. So that shows you how far back that goes to the Brody feud. So a decent little squash match for Orange Cassidy here, taking on Preston. Some good sort of big guy spots from Preston to get him over, and a short match is always a little bit better for Orange, especially at this point when they were unsure what to do with them after all the big wins.
Yep, cool down the crowd and stuff like that. I like the hug lessons.
Yeah. I think anything with John, if anything else, John Silver is just so over. Like, the biggest thing that the Dark Order needs is he needs to not wrestle with the mask. I know you say you don't watch Dark. He had a great match. I think another culprit of the COVID thing we can pick out is the disappearance of Reynolds, who hasn't been around the last few weeks. It's just been Silver. Also on Being the Elite wasn't there. And then on Dark, he wasn't, because Silver teamed up with Colt Cabana. And I just wish he didn't have the mask for the match. Colt doesn't have to wear a mask. Anna Jay doesn't have to wear a mask anymore. Silver and Reynolds should have earned it after a year now to not have to wear the masks. But maybe we're leading to that down the road. But back to the match here.
That's how much Brody making him do it still is what's just like.
I guess that's fair, yeah. Maybe if he gets it, or if they make everyone else take them off and he's the last one to have to wear it, then I'm fine with that too. Like if he lets Reynolds take it off.
Put your fucking mask back on.
Yeah. It's like, why? It's just me and Uno now.
Put your fucking mask back on. I'm in the shower. Put your fucking mask on.
So yeah, if that's where it's going, I'm fine with it. But no, I'd like maybe progression for some of the Dark Order members there to define them a little bit more. But yeah, we got just a quick not a quick orange punch, but that was the sort of finish, an orange punch into the Beach Breaker, which is kind of an air raid crash type finish from Orange Cassidy, a little bit different from him, but looking nice and strong here. Yeah, seeing some more moves from him is nice to see.
Yeah, really nice finisher. And then one of the moments of the night, one of the highlights of the show, MJF crashes the Inner Circle locker room with War Dog. Yeah. And he's brought gifts.
Yes. He has got War Dog with a wrapped present there. Some Inner Circle members have gone for it. He's like, oh, no, don't worry. I'll open it up for you. He takes the wrapping paper off, and he's got them all jackets. He's slowly reading off the names. He's got one for Hager. He's got one for Jericho. He's got one for Santana and Ortiz. And, of course, he's got one for Sammy. There was one for Sammy, was there not? Big War Dog, was there not? No. No, he shakes his head. No, apparently there isn't one for Sammy.
Sammy's not happy. It looks like it's going to go sour for a second, but cooler heads prevail.
Yeah.
And MJF and Jericho's just got one simple question for him. Do you want to join us?
Yeah, the same thing he asked him a long, long time ago, almost a year ago or whatever.
But MJF has one simple question for Jericho.
Well, do you want me to join the Inner Circle?
No, do you want to join us?
No, do you want me to join the Inner Circle?
No, wait. Do you want to join us?
No, but do you want me to join the Inner Circle?
Hang on. First, you tell me it was fucking priceless.
I love this. These two together, gold. I can't wait for more of this. Like,
they could do a half-hour sitcom with just these two. Like, I swear to God, the characters and it's just the way they both play it, they know their characters so well.
Oh,
Jericho's had 30 years of practice. Max has had like 6, right? Yeah. He's on another fucking level. The delivery was brilliant. And you called this. We didn't do this on the air. I think we were talking about this off air of the radio on Monday.
Yeah, just in the studio.
Yeah. Eric has called that MJF will be joining the Inner Circle. He'll get into the Inner Circle. He's going to indoctrinate the Inner Circle, and he's taking over the Inner Circle. And Jericho will be the one on the outs, and we'll see the heel MJF with his Inner Circle behind him versus the babyface Chris Jericho. And as this is playing out tonight, I was sitting Shannon's in the room. I'm like, oh my God, this is what Eric said. It's going to happen. It's the beginning of what Eric said. He called it fucking right on the money. This is where it's going. So good call, my friend.
I wish I could take full credit for it. I think I heard it from Luke Owens, on Wrestle Talk.
What is he
if I had to take it from somebody there, I think that was maybe where I heard it. I can't take full credit for sure. I don't think I came up with this all myself, but as soon as it triggered in my head, the wheels just started spinning. So I was very excited to see this segment as well and thought it played out perfectly.
Well, I'm an Ollie Davis man. That was a very
well. You can enjoy your Ollie authority. Give me a yes, please, and let's get rowdy.
It was a very Eric McLeod call.
Am I gonna have to put all those in now? Oh my gosh, my editing just got all of a sudden a lot more complicated.
Yeah, we don't have the editing staff. They've got it. Their fucking factory. So don't worry.
Well, maybe for the clip that I'll do for this one, I'll add all this extra fun Wrestle Talk stuff that I'll steal. So I apologize now, Wrestle Talk, but I maybe steal some stuff from your videos to make our clips some funny
The end
stuff
of our
here.
Monetization is copyright things hit us within like the 3rd month. Awesome. Facebook won't let me have an account, and I'm going to get booted off YouTube as well.
Oh, exactly. Well, sooner than later, I'm sure it'll happen. What was our next match of the night?
We move into the return of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on Red Velvet, JR's favorite cake. Holy shit. This is the beginning of Granddad getting tired, I swear, right? In this match is when he hit it.
Yeah, which was unfortunate because Britt looked really great in her return.
Taz his comment with Excalibur talking about how they've been calling Red Velvet on Dark and hyping her up somewhat is like, I like that. It pushed him and Excalibur's camaraderie, pushed Dark, pushed this girl at the same time they haven't seen. It was just like all-encompassing, all-in-one thing from Taz. Like, good job, buddy. You can see you can't fucking do it when you put your mind to it. You're good at this job.
I think he's just getting more and more comfortable, especially him and Excalibur. They're getting a really good back and forth that really works from Dark. That I enjoyed adding that element of him to the commentary. And I think, like you said earlier, if it was Taz, Shivani, Excalibur, I would have been, tickled pink tonight with the commentary stuff, and we could just find other stuff for JR to do. That just makes it just as important. Bring him in for the Moxie match, bring him in for the other stuff. But like I say, the stuff that was really frustrating me got a little later on, but this was certainly the starts of it here, just with the not really wanting to put Velvet over because he was just so unfamiliar with her, and that's just it. He's obviously not watching Dark or giving a shit about Dark, so why would he care about this enhancement girl that's thrown in there that, like, he just likes the name? I like Red Velvet Cake. Fucking thanks, JR. I don't give a shit, Grandpa. Like, fuck off.
Even with Britt, the majority of JR's comments about Britt in this match were
that she's a
her legs. She looks really good. I didn't have a dentist look that cute. She's the cutest looking dentist ever in wrestling.
Yeah,
which
dentist wrestlers are usually ugly.
Kane, but
Isaac Yankem or whatever, but still.
But it evolved into just kept saying how beautiful she is. You're like, all right, JR, you like girls. Fuck, we all know you're not. Nobody cares, Ross. Like, I don't know. Yeah,
like, you think that's what she wants to hear when she rewatches this match after? Like, no. She wants to hear you putting over her moves and how good she is in the ring and how nice it is to see her return here and how aggressive she looked and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what got her over here too. Like, I think the match itself was very good, and Red Velvet's been doing a good job building herself on. Dark as a new up and comer in the enhancement division, at least. Like, they're obviously a bit of a separate type thing, but that she could put on good matches. Her and Tay Conte had a fantastic match on Dark this week, and I think that was a nice sort of lead in. After that, I was like, I hope she gets a Dynamite match soon. So it was nice to see her get this match with Britt Baker for her in-ring return. Someone who's pretty smooth to work with. It was only about a 4-minute match, so not a ton to do here, but plenty for to get Britt over. That stomp finish too, pretty nasty. I kind of like
smiley.
Yeah.
That's I like the match. I thought Red Velvet's offense was particularly quick and sharp. She looked good. Britt, I think, is very deliberate. Britt was this very much slower paced. There's some more rollings and some locks in the beginning, the chain wrestling stuff, and she looks fine. It's nice and fluent. It was much slower once she got moving again. And some of that might well be not ring rust, but the injury factor of, like, I don't want to go too hard, too fast and re-aggravate something that's not 100%.
And in just this kind of match too, right?
Test my way through things. And it's your first one back. You can build at a slower pace. So I'm not a complaint, but that was my stark difference I noticed in the styles tonight between the two of them. Was Red Velvet seemed to be wanting to move this real fast movement. But, I like that smiley finish, man, and then pulling the black glove on and sticking on the lockjaw.
I think the addition of Reba with her has just been perfect. I really enjoy the two of them together. It always gets a crack out of me. Her giving her the glove and them faking the high five and all that kind of stuff. She does some really good facials and those kind of things. So really cementing Britt here again. Back in the division, and then hopefully we can see what shakes out for the women as weeks come. I'd like to see maybe her and Thunder Rosa, or if she gets in there eventually with Sheeta. There'll be some fun stuff to have happen down the road. Maybe I think a real fun 4-way or something like that for Full Gear. Like you get Thunder Rosa, Britt, Big Swole, and Sheeta for the belt or something like that would be really fun. I'm sure they're going to try and throw Nyla Rose in the mix here somewhere too, but nice to at least see Britt back.
Definitely envision a day where we see Britt Baker versus Sheeta for the belt. As you're saying, that could be now, because you could go with Thunder Rosa, Sheeta, and Britt Baker as a third into that little triangle. You could still have Diamante and Ivelisse in that.
Yeah, of course, because they don't want to
and have it 5-way.
They don't want to slow their heat down either. Yeah.
Nyla doesn't have anything else going on right now. that could well also be the thing. And Big Swole's still hanging around the picture, you would think.
We
That
throw them
didn't
all into a
end.
big old ladder match or something like that. Come on, ladies. Let's have something fantastic out of you here at Full Gear. Who knows what'll come, but we got a little tease about what next week is. Of course, we mentioned Jericho and Hager taking on the Chaos Projects. Will Hobbs going up against Brian Cage for the FTW belt. At least cool to see him defending it, not just carrying it around. So I do enjoy that, especially on the show here. And then also announced the TNT title, defended in a dog collar match as Mr. Brody takes on Cody. And that'll be, I'm sure, a good chunk of the show. Excited for next week. But this, again, if we're going to lean on the JR stuff, this is where it got into it for me, because then they also mentioned that coming up here for the main event, which, again, they hadn't mentioned it all night, but he should know what the hell's going on the shows. But the lead in for this is that Eddie Kingston, due to not losing last week, Moxley had said that he could then pick any opponent for him to fight this week. This is what went on behind the scenes or whatever, but that's the story. Very, very simple. Eddie Kingston, who we've already seen on the show multiple of times, plenty of times. He was in the main event last week. He was in the goddamn main event last week. We were told he is going to tell us who is going to fight Jon Moxley tonight. Right after we are told that happens, Eddie Kingston comes out, and what does JR say? Well, what's going on here? What is this? JR, you just told us that Eddie Kingston was coming out here to tell us who Jon Moxley's going to fight. So shut your fucking mouth. Oh, it was so goddamn frustrating that he couldn't pay attention to the goddamn show.
The show, that, as you said, the show he is narrating to us, and literally the stroke happened about 30 seconds before that. It was when the graphic came up with Lance Archer and Jon Moxley in a world title match for a date in the future. And something in him said, but wait a second, we've got a world title match tonight. How am I supposed to make people think that we don't know he's going to win when I've got a picture of him fighting this guy? And he just went, oop, and it went, his brain went, into a flat line, because he says, we'll find out who faces Lance Archer up next. And that was the first line of fuck up. And then it was, what's Eddie Kingston? What's the referee
doing here? We're going to have a match. Like, what the fuck do you think the ref's doing here?
Maybe for the match you've got coming up next with the... Somebody take Jim Ross out back, right? And fucking, it's time. Yeah. It's time, Lassie. I'm sorry. I love Jim Ross.
How much better would it have been if we had just had Shivani and Taz on the commentary, or someone else with Excalibur or whatever, and then you bring JR out, and he's just like, all right, everybody, let you know, we're on main event tonight. Before we even get to it, Eddie Kingston's going to come out here. He's got something to say after not winning last week, and he's going to let us know who's going to take on our champ, Jon Moxley. Like, really put over this main event, put over the competitors in this main event, put over the Butcher who eventually comes out, and the situation going on with the referee and Eddie Kingston. Really put over all this stuff for the main event, rather than just be fucking confused by the end of the night. It's so frustrating. And then for him to take over on the commentary too, it's just so aggravating. And you could tell Excalibur was sick of it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You could hear it. You could hear it in Excalibur's voice by the end of the show. He's had enough. You know who tried to put Jim Ross out to pasture several years ago? Vinnie Mac,
yeah.
Right? Tried to do exactly what you're saying. You do the main event of big pay-per-views. And other than that, buddy, you got to stay home because you ain't got it the same as you had it.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a little premature, but you still had to build up the next guy, and that was Michael Cole at the time. And
yeah. No, I think I'm going to say, I'm not saying that he's all bad all the time. There are times that he is fantastic, and it does give you that nostalgic qualities and all those kind of things too, but it does no favors when he can't do his job properly. It's just like, you should know better more than anybody else how to put this product over on television and that kind of stuff. So it just seems like he's just burying people for no reason when he should just be trying to benefit them. But let's not try to focus on JR too much. The in-ring thing, what is actually going on is Eddie Kingston is there, and he's ready to let us know who the opponent for Jon Moxley is. He has Pentagon and Phoenix there with him. Maybe you think that'll be the tease, but before he gets to that, he has a few words for Brian Rensford here.
Yeah, 18 years of friendship, or so he thought. only for you to ring the bell just because I was unconscious, you fucking weasel. And just as he's about to kick the piss out of him, Jon Moxley, our hero, says Taz. More channeling of Bobby the Brain Heenan. I love this actually as well. Taz is Bobby Heenan versus Hulk Hogan with Jon Moxley.
Yeah,
he just fantastic. It's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, he can't stand him. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
no, I think Taz is he's working that role perfectly. He doesn't need to be annoying. He just needs to give you a difference of opinion or whatever, too, or someone to be like, oh, shut up, Taz. You're going to get your comeuppance and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So, and it's just that subtle reminder that those people are out there. But yes, we got Jon Moxley saving Brian Rensford here as he gets into the ring. Eddie Kingston starts backing off, takes the Phoenix and Pentagon with him, starts letting him know that, hey, you're not fighting me tonight. We already beat each other up. Hey, maybe you're going to fight Pentagon. Hey, maybe you'll fight Phoenix, or maybe not. Actually, I think tonight you're going to take on the Butcher. So, hey, Renzo, why don't you ring that bell? And all this time we see the Butcher appearing slowly behind Jon Moxley. And, what did you make of this main event?
The two key words in that last sentence were the Butcher and slowly. Because that's what we saw in this main event. He didn't do anything fast. And in fairness to the Butcher, he's not a fucking main event wrestler.
No.
As you said with Jim Ross doing no favors for this match did no favors for Jon Moxley. Didn't do any favors for the Butcher. I don't know why it was on the main event. I don't really know why they needed Moxley. So then you start to think like, okay, are we just short on guys in the back right now? And that's kind of why we're in this situation where, Mark, we got to have you out there, bud. You got to defend the title tonight because we need a fucking main event. And who am I fighting? Christ, man, the Butcher. We got nobody else that's not sick or injured or whatever. Like, that's who it is. So
and if it was just that, that's why I kind of feel bad that it wasn't just Phoenix or Pentagon. I mean, I get maybe why you're saving that because that match is going to be very good whenever it happens, when he takes on one of those guys. And not that it couldn't have just been tonight with no hype and just you end up getting it. I would rather get the hype of a Pentagon finally taking on Jon Moxley for the world title. So if it was going to be this sort of last minute person thrown in there, it again probably should have been the Blade more so than the Butcher. He actually has far more years experience as an actual wrestler and those kind of things. Andy Williams is a guitar player. He's played in Every Time I Die far more than he's been a professional wrestler. He will tell you that himself. Like, he's only wrestled for maybe 5 years now in total or whatever. So he's very new to the sport and all those kind of things, especially a main event as a singles competitor. As he's come back to wrestling, he's done very little single stuff. Most of the stuff he's been doing is just the Butcher and the Blade gimmicks. So a big spot for Andy to get in this here. Obviously, they see that it's a cool character to have on the show, and maybe they want to start expanding on it in that sense. And then I kind of get where, if he was the only person you had, and maybe they couldn't have gone with Blade because maybe he's also out with COVID. So I don't know what this kind of situation is. Pardon me.
We didn't see. I don't think
we didn't see him there at all. So that's where, I kind of feel that maybe that's the case there. So it was just sort of one of those, and maybe that's why the other two were so masked up. Maybe that's why they weren't competing as well. That there's something else going on, but you would hope they didn't have them there.
You think that's not Ray and Phoenix? Maybe at ringside.
No, that was certainly them.
Okay, I'm just wondering, right? When you said that, I'm like, oh, under the mask, maybe not them, because in my mind's eye, I'm thinking exactly what you had said. Is why wouldn't we have gotten Penna in there? Because we know he's not. When they have that one-on-one clash for the belt, assuming it's within the next 3 to 4 months, if and when they do it, Pentagon's not going to win the championship from Jon Moxley. He's going to put on a hell of a match. We're going to get a really good show out of it.
Right.
That's all you're looking for tonight, right? It was a really good match to close the show with. So it almost felt like a real waste to throw in someone that I mean, because did you think for 1 second maybe it's going to be Butcher versus Lance Archer next week or the No, nobody thought that. So that was where I just felt like it was a very wasted spot. And that probably there's a better reason for it than we know, because
I'm sure there's probably maybe more behind the scenes here, but maybe more so than just giving an opportunity to a new up and coming talent and different eyes on somebody else. Like I say, I can never complain about a new person in a main event, but again, sometimes styles just don't mesh, and Butcher's much better suited to the tag division. Obviously, they were talking about the heat in this place, and that was certainly getting to him. He was he was focusing so much on just not screwing up the wrestling match that he couldn't sell the character. He kept having to remember to be the Butcher and like do the taunts and be, mean mugging and that kind of stuff. Most of the time he was just trying to not die, it seemed, in the ring.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be too hard on him because I love Andy. I think he's a great performer, and the character used properly can be utilized very well because he's got a great look and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this seemed like more of just them trying to make the best of a bad situation.
He was breathing heavy early. Like a 10-minute match is not his bag. So it just looked like he was gassed before we got near the finish. I mean, to the point he couldn't get him up for the stretch muffler thing. They had to give it up and just do it on the ground and get into a different thing for the next spot. I was legitimately worried for him when he had to kick himself off the top for the superplex. Like, oh, come on, big man. You can get there. just kick now. It was just sloppy, a lot of missed time spots. But again, I don't, just like you're saying, we know he's inexperienced. We know he's obviously an older fella. He's obviously a bigger guy.
Well, like I say, I think he's actually what you were saying. Like you're like I think he said he's 43. They were just on the AEW Undisputed or whatever their podcast is that they do.
Oh yeah.
And he's like 42, 43-ish or whatever. So he's certainly up there. He didn't get back into wrestling until he was like 36 or something like that. So again, he's pretty new back to it and getting into it at an older age. Talked about being stiff and those kind of things. So again, I think properly utilized, it can be a really good gimmick in a tag team and that kind of stuff. And that's why I think, this was maybe an experiment, and sometimes it's good to try new things and not just repeat. I didn't want to just see the Kingston match again, but I think maybe there were probably better directions they could have gone. But maybe there's a reason we didn't get Pentagon or Phoenix, and hopefully maybe we find that out. But if not, we were left with a bit of a lackluster main event, but hey, it's not going to stop me from watching.
No, I mean, like I said, tonight I really felt like the first hour was really good. And then the turning point hit right around that Britt Baker match, which wasn't the match, it was the commentary. But then everything just kind of dragged after that for me. And that was so not a bad show, but not a great show. Yeah. It was a show. Much like this was a show, right? Yes. Not a bad show. It's a show.
That's right. And hey,
it's free.
That's right. And hey, and next week we'll be back with another show. And speaking of shows, Chris, let everyone know where they can hear our shows.
You can hear our show in Ontario, Canada, on 88.7 The River FM, local radio at its best, every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. live. If you're not fortunate enough to live in Ontario, Canada, first of all, they've invented cars and moving trucks, people. Come on in. We've got houses for sale. Second of all, we're online, 887theriver.ca, and we're under the archives. You can listen to us and all the other great shows on radio. Or you can go to sounder.com, where we're on there, and it broadcasts out from Sounder to various podcasty channels across the universe.
That's right. And here on YouTube, thank you for watching. You can like this video. You can share it with your friends. You can subscribe here to Low Blow Radio Podcast for more videos. Get into the comments. Let us know what you think of our videos. Ring the little bell. That'll let you know when we have new videos coming out. And we'll be back with more Low Blow Radio Podcast next time. And I'll see you then, Chris.
I'll see you then. I'm going to see all of you then. Adios, amigos.
Now we're